Alright guys, so today we're going to do a little story time. We're going to go over why I chose to quit my job to start my own business. So I'll give a brief background on my work. I started looking for a job at 16 as soon as I was able to. Didn't get one until I was 19. When you start looking for a job in 2008 when that recession hit, it was kind of hard for the jobs I was looking at. But I managed to land one in when I was 19, right as I was starting ASU, at a swim school here locally. I won't give names. Worked there for 3 years exactly, literally 3 years to the date. Started on August 11th, ended on August 11th. And it was fun. It was an interesting job. It was a good job. I'm not gonna lie. Pay sucked. We'll get to that. But overall, it wasn't a bad job. It was teaching kids to swim. I had kids anywhere from 2 years old to 14 years old. I preferred the older kids because you can kind of reason with an older kid. If a 2-year-old doesn't like you and they're crying because they want their parents, you really can't do much about it. So that was a good job. I left that job because after 3 years, I was making 20 cents more than minimum wage. The only time I ever got a raise, it was usually by about 30 cents, and it was when minimum wage went up. So, whatever. It is what it is. I couldn't change it. So, I just took it upon myself to find another job. That's how I landed the job at Foundry, which started paying more, which is why I took the job. It was full-time. Hours kind of sucked, 5 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday. Well, I thought they sucked at the time, but then I discovered how awesome working 410s was. And then, so I worked there for 18 months. After about 16 months, a lot of things had happened at the Foundry, and I basically went from a sand molder, which was, in the Foundry world, is kind of as high as you can go, short of supervisor. It's a very good job. You make the molds for the parts. It's a really good position to have. Well, things happened. 2 people quit, or 1 person quit, 1 person got fired. So then that kind of landed me in the middle. I would make molds, help pour the metal, which I love doing, so I didn't have a problem with that. If the floor started getting kind of backed up, I would stop making molds, because I didn't get the real high priority jobs anyway, because I was the slowest. Even after working there like 8 months, I would do 50 molds a day. There's a guy there for 28 years who would make 100. Experience helps. So I would just kind of bounce back and forth. I'd help out the floor guy, who happened to be my best friend. I mean, he still is my best friend, but I got him the job there when he needed a job. Apologize for my phone. So yeah, worked with my best friend. That was fantastic. But then he got a better job closer to home because he was driving about 30 minutes like I was. And he got a job 5 minutes from home that paid $5 more an hour. Who wouldn't take that job? So then I got moved to basically floor bitch. I broke the molds, I shoveled sand, and that was pretty much all I did. It was an entire day's worth of work. If there's ever a spare moment, I would go and grind parts. So, and then I was having to go to chiropractor every Thursday because my back was so screwed up. And my shoulders, and just everything would get screwed up from that job. It was a hard manual labor job. So started looking for another job, and at the time, I started training for DPS, Department of Public Safety, which is Highway Patrol. And so I was training for that, studying for the test. I got the testing dates, and this is where I screwed up. So I didn't hear anything for 8 months on testing dates. So I started looking for another job, figuring, it would take a year or two probably. And I got a job where my sister had just gotten a job. She was a teacher's assistant at a charter school here. And I was supposed to be hired on as the head of maintenance. I got hired on as the assistant. Whatever. The problem became when they hired the head of the department. So I just assumed I'd be working under the existing guy. No, the day before I started, they fired that guy, so I was still the assistant. And then about 3 weeks later, they hired the guy who would be the head. They hired him without me ever meeting him, without ever knowing anything. It took them 3 months for me to even figure out what his position actually was, because nobody even told me. I couldn't stand the fucker at all. Hated that guy. And then that just led to a whole host of problems. And I made it clear to my boss, I did not want to work with him. I did not trust him, because I could just tell. Like, I'm the type of person, within 5 minutes, I pretty much have you figured out. I know. I can just read your personality and know the type of fucking person you are within less than 5 minutes usually. Yeah, I could tell what type of person he was. And I was right. So I told him, I don't want to work with him, I don't trust him, I don't like him, and just a bunch of other things he had said within the first 48 hours. I've been working there. Didn't matter. They still kept him. And things just proceeded to get shittier and shittier. Like, I would bust my ass, get things done, get everything done. I was always on time. Always. I worked 6 to 2:30, Monday through Friday. Never late, never early. Or I should say, always early, never late. I never knew when this guy was going to fucking show up. He would show up at 5 some mornings, he'd show up at 11 some days. I never knew. So, I didn't even plan on, like, any projects with him or anything he'd done around the school, because I never knew when he was going to be there. Or he would say he'd be there at 5 and he would show up at noon. Like, I don't play that. So I continued to do my job to the best of my ability, assist all the teachers. It was a big school. There was about 1,400 kids. Assist the teachers, work with the students on their projects that required facilities help. And this little bag of dick tips would A, claim credit for everything I did. B, would lie to my boss and say that I wasn't doing anything, when this little cunt would sit in the office and play his fucking guitar for 6 hours a day. But what I said didn't matter. They always believed him over me, even though I had been there longer and I was a more trusted employee. So basically, I told them to kiss off, because I got written up twice. I got written up for not picking up garbage, which was bullshit, because I picked up the trash from all these wonderful students every day. Every morning when I went to open up all the gates, because I was in charge of opening the entire school, I would just pick up the trash as I walked and throw it in a trash can. That wasn't good enough. You had to be seen doing it by people. Let me just tell you, this school was run for shit, and it shows. So whatever, I started just doing it later on in the day, which would screw over teachers who needed me that morning. And then I got written up again in January. So I worked there 5 months for not working with my quote-unquote supervisor. That was the final straw. I literally went home, typed up my resignation letter, typed up a formal complaint, because if you look at the definition from OSHA on workplace violence, hostile work environment, and discrimination, I was getting hit with all three. All three of them. So I wrote a nice 5-page complaint about my supervisor, the directors. I wrote about everything. And I filed that and my resignation letter with HR. That same day. I was just done. So, at this point, I had already applied for my LLC. And my plan was to just kind of do both for a while until I could figure it out and get it up and running. Well, that plan went to crap. because I was done. So I quit. I planned on fulfilling my 2 weeks because it was in my contract. I didn't have to notify my boss. I just had to notify HR. Well, somebody from I got emailed back saying, that's not discrimination, blah, 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 blah. Whatever, look up your own damn policy. So then I get called in 2 days later, that Tuesday. And I was told that it was after the head of HR and my boss had a meeting for about 3 hours. I know because, well, I could see his office from the roof that I was working on. And I got called in and told that it was policy that facilities didn't have to finish their 2 weeks there, but they would pay it out and pay out the vacation, because I was burning all my vacation days, obviously. Total bullshit. But whatever. What they didn't know is I had been recording any conversation between my supervisor and I and my boss and I for 2 months. I had the proof. I just didn't want to use it. I mean, I guess I could have made a big stink about it, but you know what? You're not making me work this shitty place anymore, and you're going to pay me out. I'll shut my mouth and walk away. So that's how I came to own my own business. Now, if you've watched my rant about why I hate the word art, you'll know I didn't go to business school. I went to art school. I know nothing about business at all. I'm starting to learn. I'm watching videos by like Matt Vincent, Chrissy May Cagney, these people who have started their own business, Big J Extreme Fitness, Furious Pete, these people who started their own businesses, not really in the same boat I was in, but just not knowing what they were doing. So, well, at least that's the way I interpret it, is that they really didn't know what they were doing. So I'm still learning. I'm struggling. I've only had a couple of sales from a buddy of mine who bought a tomahawk, a shooting target, and a couple other things. I may have just sold my first dozen roses. I don't know. I gotta follow up with that person. So I'm struggling currently, but I'm starting to figure it out. I think my next big step is gonna be I need to find an accountant. I need to find that so I can get the tax stuff figured out, deductions, all that, before the end of the year. I just want that all squared away so I can figure out how I'm taking the business loss, because I have lost a lot of money. Like, I started this business with $23. First mistake. I've lost money from... I didn't lose money on targets and everything, but that got worked around and spent on materials again. I've borrowed from my brother, my mom, my sisters. And the nice thing about my family is they're not like keeping a tally if they've never been paid back. It's just kind of one of those things that, eventually I'm going to pay them back. I don't know if I'll necessarily hand them all the money, but I'll pay him back somehow. So, but yeah, that's why I came to do what I do and not really knowing what I'm doing. But it's all good. It's a learn as you go type thing. So I appreciate you listening, and if you have any questions, drop a comment. I don't know much, but I'm learning as I go, so I kind of know some mistakes to not make so far. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.